Dixon, let me know when we're on.
Okay. You tag people?
Yes, sir.
On now.
Okay, awesome. Hold on, I can't see you guys on my end. Can you guys still see me?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay,
I think the other guys kicked out.
awesome. I think he was sharing. Hold on one
Oh,
second.
there he is. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to share.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
awesome. Okay, it had kicked me out. I'm sorry, guys. Can you everybody see me good?
Yeah.
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 Awesome, awesome. All right. Everybody good? Everybody was tagged. You guys got a chance to like and share with your community? Awesome,
Yes.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Hot Seat. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Well,
Pretty
Great.
good.
Awesome, awesome. We are so excited to have you guys on with us this evening. Truly, truly excited. This is going to be a very interesting topic that we have tonight. So, as usual, we're going to start off with a quick word of prayer, and then we're going to get right to the narrative and move on to our discussion. Is that okay with everybody?
Okay.
amen.
All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
All right. Well, Father, we thank you for this opportunity to share with your people yet again. We thank you so much for this collaboration of minds. Let it be effective, sharp, and be instrumental in adding value to people's relationships. That is, as it is our quest to help people to see the light at the end of the tunnel in the adversity that comes along with being with someone that we are committed to for a relationship. So we thank you for this opportunity and this chance to connect with these your incredible people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, so outstanding, you guys. I'm going to read the narrative, and this show tonight is actually Mr. Dixon's brainchild, about the boring, I'm bored, the tales of a stale situation. I'm sure that some of us can relate, whereas others may not be able to relate so heavily, but some of us I definitely know can relate to this particular situation in our relationships as we get into the routine of our realities. This can definitely be easily happen. So who would have ever thought the repetitive routine of relationship could someday drive you to the crossroads of boredom? The phone no longer rings. You send it to the phone rings and you send it to voicemail. There is no more tease of the sexy text. The emails go unanswered. The communication begins to be all about the bills and the babies. Your reality has now become likened to the song, The Thrill Is Gone. The fire that once
Mm.
ignited us has now dwindled down to mere ashes. It's as if the bread that our love was buttered on is now completely stale and no longer palatable. What am I saying? I am bored. Am I selfish, or is this a sign that potential trouble is on the horizon where my commitment level is concerned? Or is there some new fuel now lighting your flame? I'm
Mm.
bored. Tales of a stale situation.
Oh
Mr.
my. Oh my.
Oh my, indeed.
Right.
Mr. Dixon, considering this is your brainchild, we're going to yield the floor to you to open up and give us a little bit of the backdrop of what brought us to this discussion tonight and help us to enter in. And we're going to go ahead and start with you, sir, to get a synopsis of what was going on to get us here.
Okay. So this came about. Well, first of all, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Um,
You.
this thought came about as a result of several conversations I had with different friends, coworkers, and just kind of random people I came across, and it seemed like everybody had this resounding theme. And I noticed first I said, okay, the weather's about to break. It's getting warm, right? And so everyone was starting to talk about how this one particular coworker, she was like, oh, I'm ready to travel this summer. He can sit home if he wants to. I'm getting ready to, do me and have fun because he want to be a stick in the mud. And I'm going to go. I got my passport. I'm going to get my stamps. Then another person, she said, this is mostly the women. Funny enough, one guy said something about being bored, but most of it was women that said they were bored. And so another woman, she said, hey, he's a good guy. He's good to our son. But she said, I don't know if I can do it. She's like, I just don't know if I can do it. And she said she said it's just that he's too predictable. And I asked her, I said, well, what you want him to do? Now, if he's slick and lying, you got an attitude. So if he's predictable and he's been consistent, now he's boring. So this is the, so I kept hearing all of these things about boring. I said, what is it about this? And what are the cues that we miss? Because these people just don't become boring overnight. Mm-hmm. And I am of the belief that a lot of times, if you don't look hard enough when you are dating someone, people will mask their boredom just to run with you. But as soon as they get you, then they default back to who they really are. And so I think we miss the cues early on, and we sort of be like, oh, baby, you sure we're going to go around out the country? Great. And he's going or she's going and everything's fine. But then when you say I do, you do maybe a little more, and then you know what? I done tried with you 2 times this year. I'm done. Now you go on and do what you're going to do, and I'm going to sit back in my chair and watch the game. And now it's a big problem. And so this whole thing has to do with 2 things. Chemistry being off, and the other part of it is I think there's a certain aspect of people taking people for granted. I think we get comfortable, and we think that we can predict the person and kind of, curtail what they're going to do or not going to do, and then we say, you know what? That's not interesting anymore. So let me go over here and do something a little more edgy and dangerous. So that's kind of how this came about. Yeah.
Wow. That, you know what? I'm still here scratching my head because all of that is so accurate. But I think when you made the comment about the chemistry coupled with us taking our person for granted, I think those are 2 major things that happen in order for us to get to this place of thought. AD,
Right.
Talk to us about the chemistry component of relationship. How important is that, and what does chemistry even really mean?
Well, I mean, I'm big on energy. Everything in this universe is about energy. It's about vibration. And each person, they vibrate and, they send out their signals just like you do.
Right.
And, that chemistry thing is always important. It's that first thing, like when you first meet somebody and y'all
Right.
just like all in puppy love and everything is exciting and fun. Right. But like you said, after the bills start coming and life starts settling in, what happens? I think chemistry kind of creates this illusion. And over time, that not that the chemistry wanes, but the true person no longer wears the masks. The true person no longer feels the need to be on stage, because listen, especially ladies, and brothers, we do it too.
Right.
Like when we get ready, when we wake up, you remember, but you wouldn't let him see you look a particular way.
Right. Yeah.
Or we always had to have that fresh cut before we went over there or whatever. But now you see them, their hair standing on top of their head.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, chemistry plays, but I think what the problem really is really getting to know that person for real. Who is it that you're dealing with? Because, and just one more thing before I yield the floor. You got to remember, folks, life happens. Life is dynamic, and so are people. People are dynamic too. Nothing's the same. Everything changes. So just like seasons change, relationships change, people change, situations change. And the problem that people have is that they're no longer communicating when that shift takes place. So like I hear, like you saying that the ladies are talking about they're gonna go get some more stamps in their passport. They're gonna spend some more time. They're not sitting at home this summer and all of that.
Right.
But they're having that dialogue with you. Yeah. But are they having that dialogue with
him? Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Right.
That's good. Lady Jackson, jump in for me. Talk to us about that, about the dialogue and the communication. That was some good information, what AD just said, which is so interesting because we do have a lot of these conversations with third parties who really don't have a say either way it goes. Truthfully, they're just third parties, So how do we have these conversations with our person? And what does it look like when we start not taking care of us in the way that we did when we first connected with the person? What's going on with us at that point?
Well, you know what? It's a lot to unpack there, Coffee, because AD, how he ended with communication, to me, that's really the answer to Charles's question about it becoming bored or stale, is that the communication either is gone or it was no longer there. Now, I so happen to write a book that's actually called It's a Way to Say It All, How to Communicate with Your Partner. And it basically just gives different tips on what you can do to keep communication fresh. And I think a lot of times what happens, especially in longer term relationships, when it starts going wrong, is because, to me, it's the friendship is not there, right? So it has to be a foundation that was initially created. And so, if there is no foundation where we're friends first, so before sex comes in, before marriage comes in, before all these things, I have to know you on an intimate level. And a lot of times people mistake intimacy for sex, and they're two totally different things. And so
Right.
if you fuel your relationship solely with sex and you don't actually know a person, then once the sex slows down, now you're getting bored, right? Because that's the foundation you built your relationship on. But if it's like, okay, well, I know who you are, then for the most part, people don't typically change drastically within a lifetime of a relationship. Like they may, change or evolve in certain ways, but if I know the foundation of who a person is, then I'm able to roll with them. But if I never knew who you were from the beginning, then now you see, I wake up, like Charles said earlier, I wake up and it seems like it's this totally new person when you just was sleeping all along.
Wow. Wow. That's good. That's good. Jason, talk to us. When she was just she said something really key, Lady Jackson, when she was talking about you were asleep the entire time. It seems now in the time that we live in, the relationships are going backwards. It's that people are expressing themselves physically and then trying to build something after the fact. Considering the times that we're in right now, what's really going on with the being sleep concept? Are we so inundated with the physical part of people that we forget to communicate, connect, and all those type things? And we're doing so, and it's leading us into this boring. Because when she said sleep, I thought about boredom. Because usually, if you're bored, you will fall asleep.
Absolutely.
So, Jason, what's your thoughts about
Um,
that?
I'll say it like this: for the statement you just made about being asleep, I believe in the society that we live in, there are a lot of people that are into this social media world. So connecting is different now. Um, they connect through text message, they connect through IG, they connect through Facebook, and I think we're losing the art of actual sitting down face to face and conversing. We're not doing that anymore. So people don't know how to connect. Um, Now, old school boredom would be more or less somebody just faked the funk until until they got you, and then when they got you, they became their real selves. But nowadays, I don't know if if it's necessarily that they're faking anymore. I really don't believe they know. This younger generation, I don't believe they really know how to connect anymore verbally to people. I've seen kids that don't seem like they can even literally write in plain English because they're so used to texting and the short abbreviations that they use for words. I've seen kids literally try to write letters and use those short abbreviations. It's like, dude, that doesn't make sense. Um, so I think in the reality that we live in today, um, communication is actually a lost art. Like true communication is a lost art. So people don't know how to sit down and say face to face what they need to say. My kids themselves will be in the same room texting to each other,
What?
right? To each other.
That is wild. That's wild. So,
So there,
I don't know if it's
right? Go ahead.
necessarily the generation. I don't even know if it's an age issue more so than it is an age issue.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? I don't know whether it's necessarily chronological, whether, versus the timing
The
that
time,
we
right?
exist in.
Mm.
Because I mean, it's funny you said that, because I literally, when I see somebody text me like WYD, I never answer. I'm like,
Mm.
what does that mean? If you gonna just at least give enough to just go ahead and type the 3 words out. I mean, my goodness, really, is it that hard? Have we gotten that lazy? And I literally will not answer, because I'm like,
I actually had someone.
if you're not gonna say the whole word, then we don't need to have no conversation, because I'm not gonna sit up here and go BL Y7
Right,
YWQ
right,
EIL. I mean, I don't
right,
know what all this stuff means. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know what that stuff means. So, I think what you were saying is spot on. But I would have to say that I don't think it's an age that's the deal.
I think it's
no, I
distraction.
don't think it's age. Yeah, it's distraction, right?
Mhm. Mr. Dixon, what do you mean by distractions?
I think since you mentioned this age of time that we live in today, I think we have so many devices, distractions. We have so many. We plugged in everywhere, and it's like if you're not careful, it's almost like back in the day. You saw the old businessman, and he was kind of married to his briefcase, and he carried to his side. Now
Uh,
we are living inside of the briefcase. We are inside the briefcase electronically.
Right.
And so now we just bury, you can be in the same room with your spouse or girlfriend or whoever, and she's in her suitcase, you in yours. And in that suitcase is everything. You can go everywhere, one country here, over there, chat room this, somebody's posting over here, and you get lost. And if what you see on the screen in your attaché looks more interesting than what you have over there on the couch, there's an
Come
issue
on.
about to come.
Mm,
Now
yeah.
it's just like,
Right.
and here's the thing. Here's one of the biggest things. Every time you look around, you know what? Here's a common conversation inside the attaché of one person or the other. Oh my God! So my travel group is going to Punta Cana. You know what? And all these women, it's just a group of friends. Is any men going? Well, it's some, but they all friends. It all starts like that, and you go to these places, and these things happen while you. That's how, we being real, and that's how it happens.
Right.
You get people
Right.
in the room together, and interest happens, like matches and sticking the match, and so it happens, and the person's over there. And here's the funny thing: you're talking about Punta Cana, and he's like, okay, well, when you gonna go with them? Bye. Okay, bye. He's in his attaché, and he's looking at what can I do locally, and that's what happens. So the disconnect happens. She gone, he's local, but both of them are happy doing what they want to do. He's meeting somebody
Right.
that deals with his boredom, that likes where he is, and she got the person that want to go turn up and have fun. And then they come back and sleep when they come back home.
Oh, AD,
Right.
but is that
I
Right.
what we
see your
want
wheels
though?
spin. AD, talk to us, AD.
Yeah.
I mean, but is that what we really want?
No, absolutely
Let's
not.
Not at all.
No, not at all.
yeah, let's be honest. But let's be honest though. Listen, Charles, you're absolutely right. It happens all of the time. It really does. And I'm guilty. I'm
Yeah.
guilty. My girl was like, I hate when you have your phone in your hand. I hate when because you always on the phone, whether you're on
Yeah.
Instagram, you emailing a
Yeah.
client, or
Yeah.
you working on something. You always have that phone in your hand. Even when you're
Yeah.
driving, you got that phone in
That
your hand.
phone in your hand, right?
you know but at the same token, I think if it's solution time, because we
Yeah.
know what the problem is.
Problem is,
The
yes.
problem is simple. I think going back to the core principle of any connection, any relationship, is going to be the communication. And there are breakdown it and I'm going to say this: it is not okay in my world, and just in my belief, it's just not okay to do all of these trips and things with your
Yeah.
homegirls, or you going with your homeboys. No, well, you
Yeah.
need to be single. You need to
Right.
be
Yeah, that's
okay.
Right.
right. Yeah.
Right.
Every now and again it's cool. Every
Yeah.
now and again it's cool for
Yes.
everybody needs a girls trip, and
A
the boys
break or
need
something.
to do
Yeah, a
their
little
thing.
break. Yeah. Yeah.
But as a norm, no,
Yeah.
that's not where it is. And
Right.
and I think we need to set some expectations.
Right.
Men, women, sit down and communicate with each other and say, hey, this is what I want. This is what I
Right.
need to not to make me happy, because my significant other, it's not
Right.
her responsibility to make me happy. You know, I'm
Right.
supposed to make myself happy. She make
Right.
herself happy, and we both get together and we happy together.
Right.
But but at the same token, I believe one of the solutions to getting to a place where we're no longer bored is finding out what makes your spouse happy, finding
Mm.
out what they love to do, and hopefully y'all on the same page and y'all can do some of those things together. That's that's where we need to begin. Do some us trips,
Mm.
plan that.
Absolutely. And that's more, I'm glad you brought that up because um, the one thing that I've learned, especially now at this juncture that I'm at right now, having a busy life, but productively busy life, but at the same time understanding balance, checks and balances, and being able to just steal away and enjoy the person that I've chosen to invest in, relational wise. And so I think what you said was so important because we kind of lose sight of that investment. We got to stop looking at our person as just a person, but look at them as an investment. Charles said on one show one time before he made a comment and he was talking about how we should be appreciative and grateful that we even have a person. It's so many people that wish they had a mate
Yes.
that they literally are
Uh,
out here hoping and like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I wish I had
Right.
one person that I could just do this with, and I don't have to be talking to
yes.
Bill and Jack and James and John and trying to figure out which one of them want to roll, which one of them don't. That's just too much energy to try to do
Mm.
all that. So it's a benefit and a huge blessing when you have a person. So I think a lot of times we need
Yes.
to think about that as we journey through this thing. And I like what you said, AD, when you were talking about that those trips and stuff with your girls and your homeboys or whatever being few and far between, but the investment is with your person, building blocks with that person and giving them the time and the energy that they need from you. And I think that would eliminate a lot of the boredom concept. But another thing I thought about when it comes to boredom is this. um I remember a few years ago, I went to visit my parents. And AD, you know my mom and dad. I went to go visit my parents. So my mom, she comes to the door and she has this thing. I don't even know what this apparatus was around her head. It's some kind of new apparatus that they use when you get your hair wrapped or something. I'm like, what is that thing on your head, right? So, she comes to the door, and with my hair being in the natural state that I exist in, I just use a silk pillowcase. And even when I had long hair and I had it done, even when it was natural and it was real long, I still use the same thing, a silk pillowcase. But anyway, long story short, so my brother comes to the house and he goes, see, that's what's wrong with y'all right now. Is them things on y'all head. This is what I'm talking about. So he starts fussing at his wife, and she got on regular street clothes. He just busts out fussing at his wife like, you know what? This is what you do at home. This is what I'm talking about right here. You don't need to see how I look on my mama. That's how I look on you. So I was sitting there listening to my brother fuss at his wife, but it made me think about um it makes me think about how something's going on with somebody sending a presentation or something. What's going on?
Uh,
You can kind of. I think you can control it. You got the command center.
I don't know how to get rid of it. What happened?
I
We
think.
can
I
still
think.
hear you. You
I
just
know
can't
the
see it.
lady. Someone was trying to get in. I saw someone trying to get on.
Yeah, I saw Victoria get on, but it went to some kind of presentation thing. What in the world?
Is that me, Coffee?
Ah,
Hi, it's Victoria. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we
hey,
can hear everybody. We just can't see anybody.
we can hear everybody, but something happened. I don't know what happened. It said something about a presentation.
Did you hit
Oh,
anything?
there it goes. Okay. Can y'all? Oh my
Still
God.
can't see.
I don't know
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah, I can't see.
I don't know what happened.
Somebody's cursor is moving around.
yeah, I
Yeah,
see
I
that
think.
too.
I think it's the last person that got in.
Uh-oh.
Something
Yeah, they
happened
might
when
have hit.
Vanessa came in. Vanessa, how about
So
you try
maybe
to
if you
go
hit
out
those
and come
three
back in?
dots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't do it until
You know
Vanessa
what
came
happened?
in.
I think maybe they hit share screen or something like that.
Something happened.
Yes,
Victoria,
that's
did you hit
me.
like
Victoria,
share
can you
screen
come
or
out
something?
and go
Say
out
it
and come
again?
back
Yeah,
in?
someone just want to go out and come
Yeah,
back.
Vanessa, go out and come back in.
Okay.
Just only come back in on the video. That's it. Nothing else. Yeah. You might press that red hang up button on your screen if you can't find it.
Okay. Whatever happened when she came in, it's not leaving.
She's still on there.
Okay.
She just had,
My
she's
video is
still
off
connected. She
now.
just has her videos is off, but she's still connected.
Yeah, she's still on there. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let me
Can
see.
you disconnect her?
Yeah, it's her screen. Yeah, something went on with her screen. Victoria's screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Victoria, so hang up.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
got to exit all the way out.
Yeah, she got to click the hang up button in her
Okay.
screen. It's a hang up. The red button is clicking.
Yeah,
There
Yeah,
we
there you
go.
go.
We're
There we
back.
go. All right.
All right.
Are y'all good? Can y'all everybody see each other now?
Yeah.
We
Yeah, we're
Yes.
Okay.
we're back.
All right.
Can you see that? There's the. Oh, where is that thing? Okay. All right, gotcha.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So, as I was saying, I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes this technology comes kind of crazy sometimes. But as I was saying, my brother was fussing at his wife about, what happens in their own private home, and I was like, wow, you all been out of shape. She ain't even did nothing. But it made me think about how we really feel about some of the things that happen in our households that we really don't express to our person. We feel that way, but we don't say anything. Guys, how do you guys feel about the head wraps and the head scarves? Go ahead and tell us the truth about how y'all feel about that.
In relation to boredom.
As it relates to being in a relationship with your person. I mean, let's be truthful. The appearance when we come to bed. Tell the truth.
Oh my
Jason. Come on, Jason.
Okay. I'm
Look at
probably
AD
one of
ready.
right. I'm probably one of the few people that will literally say, no, that's not it. But like for me, if there's something that I see that I don't like, I try not to be aggressive in it, but at the same time, I ask a question. Like when me and my wife first were dating and things, I was like, "Hey, I see you don't get your nails done as often as other women that I know. Do you just not like getting your nails done?" She took that message
Mm,
and said, "Okay, clearly he likes to see me with my nails done." So she
Mm,
understood where I was going with that, and that's the way I pose questions. But the reality is I'm not afraid to say what I feel.
mm.
I've
mm.
been hurt enough where I've had those unknown expectations because I think a lot of times we go into relationships
Oh, I like
with
that word.
predispositions.
Yeah.
We go into relationships with predispositions on how the relationship is supposed to be, but we never verbalize our expectations. So if
Mm.
you never verbalize your expectations, but you assume the other party should know how to treat me or how I'm supposed to be treated in this relationship, that'll never happen. And
Mhm.
then you're frustrated day in and day out, like, man, you don't do this, you don't do that. You never said you wanted that. I never said I
Mm.
would do that. And that goes all the way back to the beginning of this conversation when it comes to communication. If you never talk about the little things, and I think a lot of times we forget that it's the little things that drive us apart. It's never the big things. It's usually the little things, and you compile that over and over and over again till, like your brother, he
Can't take
exploded
it.
about a head wrap, but I'm sure it was more than just the head wrap that was just the icing on the cake when he saw your mom like that, and it just struck a nerve with him, and he went
Right.
off. So ultimately, there was more than that going on, I'm sure. But the
Right.
reality is that happens in more relationships than it doesn't, because a lot of people think, well, you should already know as a woman you're supposed to do this. You should already know as a man you should be doing this. And sometimes they don't. You don't know what type of environment some people were raised in. So they don't
Right.
have a clear picture of what a good relationship is. They know what their mom did. They know what their dad did. But their mom and dad could have been jacked up.
Mm.
So all they ever saw was just work for them. But that don't mean it's a real good relationship. It could have been a jacked up relationship that, back in the day, older folks would stay in relationships knowing it was jacked up, just saying, well, look, I married him. I'm going to be with him till it's over.
Mm.
Right.
And nowadays it ain't like that. So the reality is, if you don't talk, you're not gonna get what is it? What's the word? A squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
Right.
Very true. So we have
Absolutely.
somebody else in the building. Victoria. Welcome, dear. Welcome. Sorry about the
Thank you.
confusion and everything with the screens. How are you?
I am doing well. I am doing well. Good evening,
Well,
everyone.
we are
How
so
are you?
excited to have you
Hello,
on
ma'am.
with us.
Thank
Everybody, this
you.
is
I'm glad to be
Victoria.
here.
Nice to
Hmm.
have you on with us. Victoria,
Hello.
we're listening to the guys right now talk about these head wraps and flannel pajamas and all that kind of good stuff. And we're gonna talk about how they look after they get
As
done
it
talking about
pertains,
how we look.
you gotta keep it in there as it pertains to boredom. We going away.
Right. That's what we talk about. It's all
Okay.
about the boredom.
All
Okay.
right. Okay.
So, Mr. Dixon, the bedroom boredom. Talk to
Oh
us
my
about
goodness.
the appearance, how it plays out appearance wise.
I talk about a lot about the importance of presentation. I think presentation is just half the battle. I mean, think about it when you go into someone and you forced to sit at a seminar, you got to listen to someone. What kind of makes or breaks your disposition in your body physically is how they present themselves and how they open up. And you like, oh, okay, I can do this. This person got a lot of energy. They cool. Well, for me, this is how I look at it.
Go ahead and
You,
tell the
you,
truth, Mr. Dixon. Don't sit up
it's a
here
grown,
and
it's a little grown folk, but I'm gonna tell you. All right. I believe you dress the way you wish to receive. You understand what I'm saying? You dress the way you wish to receive. So if you come in there, look like you're going to the baptism room, caps and long white t-shirts, and all this stuff, you're gonna try to receive a certain type. See, the man is going to connect. The man's tentacles are going to connect a certain way according to what he sees, and that's how he's going to deliver. So if you come in there, and kind of like lackluster, kind of taking, because I believe, and I'm going to be nice. I believe
No,
women.
don't be nice. We don't need nice.
Here's the thing. I believe women feel like at the end of the day, look, we got the golden rainbow. So however we package it is our business. So what? I'm tired anyway. If you want this, that, and other, you better go on and do what you're gonna do, and I'm going to sleep. That's the thing.
Right.
For men, we have to lock in. And when we lock in a certain way, and we look at the woman and she come in there, that changes the whole act for us. Because now that's the difference between getting the animal and getting the little fairy cat that's saying meow and that's it. The animal gonna come out or not, judging by what we see. That's what draws us to you or make us kind of be like, babe, you got that on? Wait a minute. We'll put the tablet, the phone down, everything for that.
Yes.
If you come in there, all the great long, put a shirt like this down here, and all this, you look under there, everything's tight. Like, it's just not, they don't look right. It's not good. So that's it.
AD, you look like you was getting ready to testify. AD, you got excited. You started clapping and carrying on. AD, what's going on in your mind?
No, listen. It's true. And it's hard. It's hard. Charles.
Yeah.
We put so much onus on the ladies.
I know.
It's hard to put on. Because I guess the society and culture that we live in.
Yeah.
Men are visual,
Yeah.
and the whole. It's hard for a man to be a sex kitten. I think. I don't know if ladies. It's hard. I don't know what we have to put on to be sexy. Maybe some silk boxers.
Yeah. Some good cologne. Cologne.
Hey, wait.
Toenails. Clip your toenails.
Yeah.
Toenails. But you gotta. I think everything we do, we have to do with intentionality.
Right.
And I think what happens. There's an old saying that says, "Familiarity breeds contempt."
Absolutely.
And the more familiar we get with our significant other, the more time we spend. You remember the first time you passed gas in front of your we're in a relationship now.
Really, seriously.
Yeah. That's it.
So that level of familiarity sometimes can create this complacent thing. And I love what the brother said about this unspoken expectation.
Yeah.
Because so many times in our relationships, man, I shouldn't have to tell you that.
Yeah.
Yes,
You should.
Right.
You should.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to have everybody has expectations, but how about let's twist that expectation thing and start with intentions. What are your intentions for this relationship? because that shifts the weight from your partner back to
Back to
yourself.
you. Right.
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 So if we have some good, solid, pure, healthy intentions for our relationship, then we can bring those to the table, and hopefully we'll clip our toenails, ladies, and we'll put a little
Yeah.
lotion on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, put
and maybe a
lotion
little
on all
cologne.
everything. Just lotion everything. Okay. Lotion it all.
But you know what? Since this is a topic about being bored, how about we just put lotion on each other and make it real
Yeah.
interesting?
That's it.
It won't be
Yeah.
no
Church
boredom after that.
amen.
Yeah.
Won't be no
Right.
problems after that.
Okay. So, Lady Victoria,
Yes.
what does it look like? I know the emphasis, like AD just said, the emphasis is always on us when it comes to boredom in the bedroom. When guys they gotta have these dial. You gotta be a from the
A
play,
vixen, a
play
vixen, a vixen.
yeah, a
Vixen.
video vixen and a
Yeah,
playgirl,
vixen.
a playboy bunny for your man and all that stuff. But talk to us about what boredom looks like on the other side of the coin to what we're seeing is boring to us.
Okay.
Yes.
Lady Victoria,
Uh-oh,
tell
here
us
we
about
go.
that.
We're gonna learn
That's
something now.
good.
Come on.
Y'all gonna learn
That's
today.
good, Coffee. That's good.
Look, I got some
Uh-oh.
that right here. Y'all gonna learn today.
Well, I think there's equality in boredom on both sides. And I was listening, or had some technical difficulty signing in, but listening to the comments, I don't think that the onus should always be on us
Right,
because
Come
we're not
on.
in the bedroom alone.
right,
Correct.
We're not in the bedroom alone. So just like you want us to stimulate you, you want us to pique your interest, you want us to have all the appeal, we're looking for
Yeah.
the same thing.
absolutely.
Okay.
We're
All
looking
right.
for the same thing. So it's not always about just yourself.
Uh,
I think
yeah.
a integral part of all of it is knowing your partner's love language.
Right,
If you know
right,
your partner's love language, then you're there to speak their love language and not yours.
right,
Mm.
I
right.
think that makes a huge difference, and I think that it does shift the responsibility. Someone said earlier that it's not up to their partner to make you happy. So there's some things that just about yourself that you're just going to do because it makes you feel good.
Right.
It
Mhm.
makes you feel, if I can just, be blatant and just say it, it makes you feel
Yeah.
like you're full of sex appeal.
Right,
So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's what you're there for, right?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's what you're there for. So, I
Hopefully.
mean,
Hopefully. Yeah.
right.
That's one of the main areas. That's one of the
Yeah.
main areas that there's a defect. A lot of the boredom that relationships experience, it's really not external stuff outside of the home. It's stuff that's going on in the mundane routine of their reality at home, in the intimate
Mm.
space that they
Mhm.
share. You can't be bored with me if I'm at work. I'm not in the same space as you. You're not even experiencing what I'm experiencing. We're not really having a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of ritualistic things going on because we're in two totally different spaces. But when we get back to our common areas, that's when the boredom tends to set in the most because that is the most familiar place that we exist in together, especially if you
Mm.
cohabitate. Especially if
Mhm.
you cohabitate. So,
Right.
Lady Jackson, talk to us about this boring bedroom, local Steve thing going on.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Come to.
So let me tell you, first of all, I am so glad that we got Victoria on the line so we can even out with
Right?
Coffee. We had to even down because
They
here's
was
one of
gonna
the
try to
things that
drown us. They
really
was gonna try to drown
I'm
us.
trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell
They
you.
were going there.
Here's one of the things that just really irritates me when I sit and I listen to me because I like to listen to men so that way you can hear what they have to say.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
However, it's always like this blame or where all of the responsibility is always on the women, right? So
Mhm.
it's Victoria kind of hit on it. It's selfishness if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's
That's
okay.
right.
Well, I don't care what you've done all day. I'm home now. I'm in the bed now. So regardless of if you've had a long day, because you have some women who are stay-at-home moms, right? So
Right.
they've been with the kids all day long. You got some women who work in corporate America, so they might have been working hard just like you working hard. You
Mm.
want to come home, get in the bed looking like God knows what, but you
Oh.
expect us to have our hair done. You want the nails done. You want us to look like we just woke up just
Yeah.
because now you ready. So I think that it's a thing to be said, number one, about selfishness. It's a thing to be said about consideration. It's a thing to be said about understanding. And then I think it was Jason, he touched on it. You know, it all goes back to communication. At the end of the day, if you start out in the beginning, when I was talking about building that foundation, and you know, if you talk to your mate and you're like, look, these are the things that's important to me, and you know that from jump, then that's one thing. But sometimes what happens is we let a lot of stuff go, and then over time, you know, you never told me that you didn't like it when I came to bed with a scarf on. You never told me that you needed this, that, and the other. And so now I'm just tired. I'm tired just like you tired. And I'm expecting for you to understand just like I understand when you come home from a long day, and if you don't feel like giving me the things that I need, then I understand that. But then on the other side, there is no understanding with us. It's like men always feel like women are supposed to just be so excited every single time we see you. Like we always supposed to have all this energy and stamina. But what are you giving us to produce that for you?
Right.
Right.
Come on, Tonya.
Right. That's good. That's good stuff. Now I got something.
Y'all get her.
I got
Y'all
something to say.
get her
Wait a minute
started.
before y'all men get back in here. I got something to say about this on tonight.
All right.
So I like what both of you ladies said about this particular idea. And one thing that happens, and a lot of people don't really talk about this, but the shift of weight happens with all of us when we get to a certain age, to where some people have these tire irons wrapped around their stomach, and so you can't really see their ministry past their belly, on tonight. So
Wow.
I didn't want to have to call nobody out. I didn't want to call nobody out, but I'm just keeping it 100. I'm just keeping it 100.
Feedback with somebody. Oh, what? Somebody.
Okay. So, I mean, being really honest, a lot of things with a guy is just simple hygiene and health stuff. It's like, hey, look, it is not attractive for you to have a big old stomach, and you want me to come in here and do all this belly dancing and carrying on for you. You're looking a hot mess when you take the clothes off. So I'm not here all this belly dancing, and I got to wear my Playboy bunny outfit every time. I'm not doing all that now if I can't get return on my investment now. I need some return on my investment. I need you to hit that gym, and I need you to put that chicken down, that fried chicken that you so love.
Yes.
I need you to loose your hooks and let it go, and get that body to where the place where it was when we first encountered that I was attracted to in the first place. Because men don't really realize this, but we are just as visual as y'all are. I mean, sometimes even more. Sometimes even more. And so, there's a lot of visually stimulating things about a guy. His walk, his mannerism. He may have really nice hands. He could be a guy some women love men with beards. Some women love clean shaven men. It could be all kind of things about you that speaks to this woman. But if you stop doing that because you get into the funk of routine and our reality, then a lot of times the expectation is there for me to perform and make sure I'm Beyonce-ing you in the bedroom, but you're not Jay-Z. But you're not Jay-Z and me, is what I'm saying. What's up?
Well, you know what? Here lies. Here's where I think the big problem comes in. Before we can get into love languages, before we can get into the bedroom etiquette or what somebody's doing and all that kind of stuff, I think boredom happens when we compromise commonality for provision. And so what happens is during the dating phase, it's like, the person got money and all the means, and we going out and you doing all these things, and you get swept away in that, knowing that you really haven't fact checked the commonality to really know do you have something in place to make it beyond the broom, right? Jumping the broom. Do you have something in place to sustain after the fact? And so what we do is we ignore all of that, then we get married, and then we kind of hope the person kind of gets it. Because if I'm gonna be honest, this is the way I kind of look at the bedroom side of it. Yes, there is a certain feeding of the stroking of the ego, feeding her, kind of the pleasantries to the woman that leads you up to that event, right? But everybody should go into the bedroom with your own game mindset. You should already have your own game plan as a woman and as a man. These are just shouldn't be things that are necessarily prompted. They're just things that men know they should do, women know they should do. And when we come together, the communication that we have dragged along the way, learn about who wants, who likes what, and what's your love language. Those things just kind of fall into play. But I think if you just leave it to happenstance, you're right. I mean, if I'm listening to Neil, if you're not doing right by her during the day, you ain't getting nothing that night. That's it.
Man.
But you know what? It's funny. It's funny that you say that though, because women are driven by whatever it is that you are providing for them. It doesn't have to be necessarily money. It could be whatever it is that you normally provide to give her that stimulation and that energy that she needs. And a lot of it is just really, really for us, our biggest sex organ is between our ears. As long as you're feeding us as a woman and you're feeding who we are as a woman and you're identifying the things that speak to us as women, then you ain't gonna get you won't have an issue. But like even when you're talking about the provision component of dating, the unfortunate thing that we're facing is that people are having sex like Lady Jackson said earlier. People are having sex so early that this stuff that's going on in the bedroom is happening before the provision, it's happening before the communication,
commonality,
before the love language, is happening before the friendship, the common interest. All this stuff is happening. So a lot of this rise and fall in this bedroom is because people started there. So they got to keep that going in order to get everything else going on the train of life, if that makes sense.
But you know what? This is also that I'm going to disturb you guys. This is also because we live in the day of I don't have time, meaning people rush into sex because no one wants to waste time anymore with anybody because it's too many options. So I'm going to get on this boat for a second. See what you're working with. If you're not compatible, off the boat, I'm going over there. And so, unfortunately, we put a lot of weight on the sexual portion because at the end of the day, you got a job, okay, you got a 401k, you got this, is your credit decent? Okay, fine. But I need to know once I lay down at night, can I be content in that room? And so people start off sexually, but you got to remember there was no communication, so there's no real consideration built up. The person really, they're sleeping with you, they really don't care about you. So you're not really getting a fair deal even up front. You're just kind of getting a physical action. You're not really getting all the attributes that come with someone really loving you or being into you, because that person will go the extra mile, where the person in the beginning is just going to give you the basic raw deal. Do we work? Do we fit? Good, we done. Okay. So, this is the problem we have.
So Lady Victoria, piggyback off of that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lady Jackson. And then Lady Victoria, piggyback after Lady Jackson. Go ahead, lady.
Okay.
What I was gonna say is this, like Charles really hit it. Like again, I say there's a difference between sex and intimacy. And now people have really lost what intimacy is. Like I can be intimate with you without ever taking off my clothes. And we don't want to do that. We're so much into the physical act. And so the problem is that and we keep saying the same thing, if you don't build a friendship from the beginning, if there is no communication, because if over time, let's say if something happens to my partner, my significant other, and I don't know you as a friend, so now if the physical act is no longer part of the equation, that's how come a whole lot of people start getting bored and start going all of these other places, because you never had anything that was built to begin with. But like you say, like all of those things you can find out on paper. I can Google you and find out all these other things. But if we start doing things the way it's supposed to be, I want to say it was Jason that was saying about how we're always on our technological devices. Like even in that, a lot of us, and I think even us that's on the panel, a lot of us are entrepreneurs. So it's kind of a part of who you are to have to be on those devices. However, if you have had that communication set up where it's an understanding, hey, once you come home or at X amount of time, then these things have to go off, then that has been established. You see what I'm saying? And out of the respect that you have for that relationship, then you let those things go. But if you never establish those things because we're sitting here assuming, well, you should just know, then that's how come though that boredom.
See, right on there.
Absolutely. Lady Victoria, and then AD, hop in for us. AD, piggyback off of Lady Jackson once Lady Victoria says what she's going to say to us. Go ahead, Lady Victoria.
I absolutely agree with what Lady Tonell said. And me and women, we like to feel important. We want to feel like we are your number one priority. Above business, above your friends, above your hobbies, above your entertainment. I mean, next to God, we're it.
Mm.
Right.
And when you don't make us feel that way, you can come in the bedroom all sexied up as much as you want. When women don't feel secure, we will back away. We
Mm.
will back away. And there's not a whole lot that you can say, but there's a whole lot that you can do, because your words, that's just something that you're speaking, but your actions, that's what we live by when it comes
Right.
to relationships.
Right.
So it's like, show me much better than you can tell me.
Mm.
Put your phone down.
Mm.
It's, so we're all business people. So we recognize that that has a place in our life, that that has a point in our life. But when do you cut that off? When do you cut off your friends? When do you cut off hanging out so that you can make me feel important? That's before we
Mm.
even get to the bedroom.
Mm.
That's hello at the door.
Absolutely.
So true.
Absolutely.
Go ahead,
AD,
AD.
Yeah,
AD, talk to us.
Every relationship.
yeah. I believe I'm with her 100%. Um, Intimacy is key. Intimacy is everything, and our ability to connect with one another and to have an open dialogue and where we're conversing all of the time, and I can hear your heart and you can hear my heart. I think people if you really want to set some solid intentions, always lead with love, always lead
Mm.
with compassion, lead with
Mhm.
understanding.
Right.
Um, and going back to that word again, communication and intimacy. That intimacy, that whole thing that we've heard, into me see. I
Mm.
Right.
want you to see who I am, and
Right.
I want to see who you are. I think we have to humble ourselves, throw that ego
I
behind
think
fellas, you know,
that
throw
happens.
that ego away and and be naked in front of each other, because that's where the intimacy is. And I don't think you'll be bored if you really open up your heart and you have a heart to heart communication.
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
I think love will win. I think you won't be bored. I
Right.
think your energy levels will be high. You can rekindle whatever you had going on. Just listen to your wife, listen to your significant other, and I think we'll be all right.
That's
Right.
what's up. Jason, where you at, Jason? Talk to us.
I think he got off.
Is Jason
You
gone?
think he might have got disconnected? He was driving.
Okay. But you
So,
know what? That what you said is really really key, the intimacy part, to keep the boredom away. But there's some other components that I wanted us to touch on real quick. Um, the things that we have to do to be connected to each other, like the hobbies, things that the things that drive us to be able to spend time
yeah.
together. How important, I'm gonna get Lady Victoria to hit this one. How important is the bond of having similar likes and interests in a relationship? Or is it real true that opposites attract in every facet when it comes to a
Mm.
relationship?
I think in relationships, I think that we do need to have some commonalities, because we need to
Absolutely.
have some things that we can sit down and talk about. Now, I might not do the same business that you do. Ours might not be the same, but we have a business interest. So we can
Yeah.
talk about the trends, the ups, the downs, those kinds of things that is going to happen in any industry, whatever you're in. And I think you
Right.
need to know enough about your mates or your significant other's business or what their enterprise is, just to be able to have a decent conversation with them.
Conversation. Yeah.
Now, like I'm an etiquette consultant. That's my business. So that's what I do. So I remember a gentleman I was dating, he said, this is going to be real interesting, because it means that I have to have my A game on all
All the
of the
time.
time, because you as an etiquette consultant, you always know whether I'm doing something right or whether I'm doing something wrong. That's true. He needs to know enough about what I did to be able for us to be able to have a conversation that matters. So I
Mm.
think that you do need that commonality, but I think at the same time you do have people where opposites attract, and I think that it's really a case by case basis. What works for one couple may not work for another one.
Yeah.
Right.
So you
That's
have
true.
to know that going in, and I agree with what everybody's saying about communication, communication, communication. You just can't communicate enough. Talk about everything. Don't leave anything unturned, because if my mate doesn't show enough interest in my business and what I'm doing, and someone else does of the opposite
Mm,
sex, guess what's going to happen? Some kind of sparks are going to fly, even if it's
Yeah.
business related from the beginning.
Yeah.
So there's going to
Mm.
be some interest there. There's that thing that we have in common where we connect. And I said, oh, he just gets me. He just gets me. He just knows what I'm talking about. Or she just gets me. She understands me. And I come home and I can't share anything with you about my business or what's going on at my job. Maybe you work in corporate America. So there needs to be some commonality there, and you need to find what the balance is for each one of you, in every relationship.
That's good
Mm.
stuff. So, Lady Jackson, how important is it? We've talked about the hobbies and working together. How important is it to have the separate entity of who you are, so that you can have that air of what is the word I'm looking for? The air of spontaneity, where the person doesn't know you all so well that they can pretty much in your sentences know what you're gonna do next, know what time you're gonna do this, know how you do that. How important is it for us to have our own identity so that we do not cause our person to be bored by being tied to us, that we're so predictable that we
Mm.
become mundane and boring? How
Mm.
important is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's boring. I mean, I think it's important. However, I think that it needs to be within reason, right? And within
Hmm.
moderation.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I think even you said earlier about balance, right? Because I think one of the problems is that it might have been Charles that said earlier about the separate vacations and the separate this and the separate this. Like if you spend everything in
Mhm.
your relationship outside, then you're
Yeah.
not building anything. If
Right.
Right.
you always gotta have guy trips and you always gotta have girl trips and you always gotta, you gotta play basketball by yourself and you gotta go out of town by yourself and you gotta do all these things, or whenever your partner is coming, they're always sending you to do something by yourself, then I mean it's like it is good to have separate things, but it should be within reason. I don't think that you should have more separate things than you
Yeah.
have together things, right?
I
And
agree.
then also to go to what Victoria said, that it is a case by case basis, because you have some couples that have children, some couples that have things together, they may be in business together, whatever the case may be. And so it should be a time for all of those components, but there should always be a time for us. It should never be taken that, okay, well, we're in business together. That's business together. That's not the same as maintaining our relationship, or
That's
just
right.
because we're both
That's right.
parents, that is
That's
not our
right.
relationship. And a
Right.
lot of times what will happen is, and I don't mean to come down on these guys, but in general, a lot of times men will feel like because they're being a provider, that being a
Mhm.
provider is the same as being a husband or a mate.
Come on
And it's
now.
not, it's two totally different components. And so
Right.
you still have to do the work in every area, making sure that you're taking care of all of those things. Because like Victoria said, if I'm going to work and you never show any interest in any of the things that I'm doing, then now I feel like I'm boring to you. And after time, I'm going to stop trying to talk to you about it. And then it'll be somebody else that will ask and somebody else will show interest. And now I don't feel like I'm boring. So and again, when I say I mean on both sides, it's for the men and for the women. Both
Right.
parties have equal responsibility to show interest in their significant other.
That's
Mm.
good stuff. Jason,
Mm.
talk to us. You back and but your phone is muted. Talk to us, Jason.
Yeah,
Jason, so
yeah, I
so
muted it.
how do we work on staying relevant to our person?
Oh, that's good.
Oh, well, number one, it always goes back to communication. You have to know the person that you're with. And a lot of times, I think a lot of people get into relationships being swept away by moment
Mm.
Mm,
instead of really knowing who you're dealing with. You get
Right.
swept away by the physical moments or the
Mhm.
moments of we can travel the world together. You get the
Mhm.
moments, and even after you get into relationships, I think a lot of times people get stuck on having kids immediately. Then the
Mm.
kids
mm,
become your moment,
Yeah.
and once the kids are grown and gone, now you don't even know who you're dealing with. For the
Mm.
mm.
last 20 years, it was all about the kids, and it's not about us. I believe from what I heard, you guys already mentioned, but you have to make time for each other, regardless. You have to literally schedule it if you have to. Every Friday, this
Absolutely.
time, we shutting everybody out. Everybody uh
Good.
has to acquiesce to this time frame. This is our time. This is our time to do whatever. Or if you have to, literally go get a hotel in the same city. Just do something different. Don't be at the
That's
house.
Mhm.
right. That's right.
In my
That's good
world,
stuff.
hotel sex is the best one. So
Yeah.
it's just you as long as you're not at home, it just seems like you're in a different place.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
That's so
Yeah, I,
true.
I have
You
a
don't have to
question.
you don't have to go all the way across the country. You don't have to do something that's cost you $1,000 to do. You could do something that's $100 in a hotel for one night and just say, look, it's just me and you. We're gonna put all phones down, put business aside, and it's
That's
just gonna
right.
be us tonight, and that's it.
Make it
Good stuff.
deliberate.
Good
Make it
stuff.
deliberate. Victoria had a question. Go ahead, Victoria.
Yes, I have a question. So, we're talking about, building your relationship and making sure that it's not boring. So, you're talking about, that sometimes when you get married, you get into a relationship, your focus is to have children right away, or you want to build your career path and you're working on that. And so some things get kind of pushed into the background. How do you, while you're having a family and while you're building your career path and while you're doing all of these other things that's about you and then about us, how do you build in those components that keep you ready for every next level, so that boredom doesn't creep in, so that it doesn't become all about the kids? And once the kids are gone, you're empty nesters, and so now you don't know each other. What do you do? How do you build that type of relationship where those stepping stones are there, but you're still including the other person? They're part of it.
That's
I think
good.
I think you got to
Very
talk
good.
for start. I mean,
Right.
you have to stay relevant each phase of the way. And it's like, I mean, I think sometimes I see couples or parents, even if they're not married, they kind of digress to almost being like one of the brother or the sister of the child, and the other parent is left by themselves. It's supposed to be you two. You're the parents, they're the children. So the hovering should be done here, the communication here. Then we go and love them, we take care of them, do other things. But we have to first remember you and I are the unit first. So the communication matters here. And so, and if you're saying, babe, what do you think about us getting some dinner on Thursday? I can get a sitter. Okay, do that. And I'll go do this and that and the other. Fine, I'll meet you on this day. We'll see each other. And then you kind of make it work. If you kind of talk, but you have to talk and communicate. If you don't, that's what happens. What Victoria said. If you don't talk, it becomes difficult, and the other person feels like you're not valuing their time or valuing who they are enough to feel like you want to take them out or do something special aside from being a parent or a worker. They want, like you said, Victoria, the person wants to feel deliberately chosen, deliberately dated, that kind of thing. So,
I want to piggyback off what Victoria said. So, I hear what you're saying about the communication and all that. So what if you communicated and then your person has verbally agreed, but they're not executing? They're procrastinating. Or, it's like how much communication doesn't turn into nagging? Because I know there's a thin line when you
yeah,
do that, because
absolutely.
that can stem into boredom for a guy when he feels like you saying wah wah wah
Yeah,
wah
all the
wah.
time. You're right.
But if you agree to something and you
Hmm.
say we're going to do A, B, C, or D, and you find that the guy is procrastinating about getting it executed,
Right.
how do you do that without it turning into the boredom of you just sounding like Charlie Brown in his ear?
Well, I think you got to learn how to. I mean, there's ways around it. No, Jason, you want to say something? Oh, no, there's
I was just
ways.
gonna say that 50% of communication is
Yeah,
action.
yeah, that's it.
You
It's true.
you can't communicate to me without doing what you said you were going to do. You're not.
That's it.
The word communication means I'm giving you what you need. You're giving me
Right,
what I need. It's not
right,
Mm,
just verbal. I'm giving
right,
you what you need. I'm
mm.
giving
right,
you what you need when I communicate to you physically, when I
right.
communicate to you in my actions. If my actions don't line up with my words, then I'm not
I'm not
communicating. I'm
communicating.
stealing
Yeah,
from you.
right.
Right.
That's good stuff.
Good stuff.
That's right.
That's good stuff.
AD,
I
come
agree
on
with
there,
that,
AD.
Jason. Yeah, because communication is a two-way street, but there's verbal communication and then there's nonverbal communication. So
Yeah,
again, like we said earlier, you follow it up by your actions. So we
right,
agree that we're going to take a vacation, we're going to go to Vermont, and we're going to go skiing. But if
right.
I'm waiting on you to make the plans and you're waiting on me to take the plans, nothing happens.
Mm.
So we communicated it verbally, but there was no follow-up behind that. There's
Well, I
nonverbal
think
communication.
you
There's
have to
actions you take
assign.
behind the words you say.
Yeah, you got to assign the task. You're the travel person. I'm this person. I'm gonna look at this, that.
Yeah.
We got to
Right.
kind of assign tasks
Right.
and work coherently together. And I think sometimes, like you said, I think in some homes, some people just feel like, look, we got money in the bank, you do it, and the woman's like, I'm not doing all that. I worked hard. Why can't you do it? So if you have a meeting of the minds where you say, look, going forward, this is how we're going to operate. So Neil is going to do this. Your AD is going to do that, and then if it works well, keep that motto and let it drive the situation.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I think sometimes also we need to change up. We need to switch up. Like
Yeah.
I know for me myself personally, there are some things I will plan and not tell my wife,
Right.
And that's
and
a
she's a
beautiful
planner,
thing.
so she
That's
can't
a
stand
beautiful thing.
it. She can't stand
Right.
it whatsoever. If I say, hey, put some clothes in the bag, we getting ready to go, she'll be like, where are we going? How do I need to dress? I just said, put some clothes in the bag and let's just go. Because at the
Right.
last minute, it's not, it doesn't work for her. But I
Right.
also know once we get there,
She'll
She
be
gonna be
happy.
it's
happy.
gonna be all
Yeah.
gravy,
She'll be
Right.
right?
happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, I know at some point, because she's usually the planner. She usually plans the trip. She sets the dates. She does all of months in advance. But I'm the last
Right.
minute dude. I'm the dude that'll be like, look, I want to do something this weekend. Let's go.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And it works because it drives her to say, okay, well, at least you thought about something. You planned something.
Right.
Even when we got and when we got engaged, I had planned it from February to August, and it was in Vegas. We took a bunch of our friends with us. Everybody knew except her.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's because that's what I wanted to do. And I think a lot of times people get into relationships and not really feel for the person that they're in, and that's why
Right.
they get bored.
Right.
Because
Mm.
I got with you, like I said earlier. I got with you because of a moment. I
Right.
got with you because of an idea I had. But
Right.
I'm not with you because I really like you, the person.
Yeah.
That's good
Yeah.
stuff.
And now that I'm
That's
with
good
you, the
stuff.
person, there's some things about you I just don't like.
And they're
Mm.
So
magnified.
Mhm.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell
And
people
see,
in counseling
that's why
all the
Lady
time.
Jackson said that earlier. She said that earlier. It was so spot on when she was talking about the friendship. And then AD
Yeah.
was talking about the
That's it.
friendship stuff and the love and how the love will conquer what we need to cover as far as with the relationship component. But I think it rises and falls on the friendship. I think
Yeah.
a lot of this rises and falls with before we start copulating and connecting in any other capacity. Are you really my friend? Because you will stay with your friend. You'll stick and stay with your friend.
Yeah.
If they really your
Right.
friend, you will literally stick and stay. Even in the boredom, because here, let's just face it. The reality of it is this: when we get into our routine of whatever our real is, there are
Mm.
going to be times where things will be slow. It's not
Right.
going to always be an acceleration. I mean, if you think about commuting anywhere, just think about traffic. There, if you go out a certain time of day, you expect for it to be slow moving.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you go out another time of day, you expect for it to be fast paced. But what happens on the day when you go out and you expect the fast pace and you left a little later thinking you would get there on time and it's an accident and you
Mm.
end up in a slow commute? So
Mm.
there are
Right.
times in our relationships where there will be slow, boring times. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
part of our human existence where we get into the routine of whatever our real is. But the friendship will sustain us during the boredom. It doesn't have to
Mm.
be a magnified boredom for no long period of time, but the friendship will
Mm.
sustain us if we have been friends before we crossed into anything else,
Yeah.
because we'll still have the value there of this is my friend, period. And they are going to be a part of my life. I'm not eliminating them. I have extreme value in them. We have rise and fell on whatever we know about each other. We know intimate, intricate parts of each other that
Right.
cause us to stay connected regardless of outside forces or whatever's
Right.
happening. So I
Right.
think the friendship will keep us even through the times of boredom. AD, I think your brain is moving right there. Talk to us.
No, I mean, no, listen, you guys are so on it, and I can't repeat the same thing over and over again. You guys, I mean, you guys are on it, and I think we're having a really honest and true dialogue, and I think everybody here should have some really healthy relationships
Yeah.
because you're making some really valid
Yeah.
points about the connectivity, keeping things fresh, being open and honest with each other. All of these variables in the equation, it equals healthy. It doesn't mean you're not going to be bored. So
That's
we just
right.
have to what you're saying, Precious, at some point in time we have to accept the reality that we are going to have the downtimes. We
That's
are going
right.
to have those moments,
Right.
but when you have a solid foundation, when you have a
Yeah.
solid foundation,
Yeah.
and you're friends, you really like the person,
Yeah.
Right.
you really like them, and you enjoy just, can you be in a room and no words are being exchanged?
Yeah.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
there,
Right.
is there
Right.
pressure to strike up some
To
kind
say
Yeah.
of
something.
interpersonal
Right.
dialogue?
Right.
You
You
know,
know.
I think when you cross that place and you don't have to, sometimes you feel like you have to be on stage and you have to
Oh yeah.
entertain your
Yeah.
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 that's a lot of weight that you have to try to
Right.
keep that facade or that movement going.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's beautiful in the silence, and if y'all can
So
find that
true.
intimacy piece right there, in that silence, you'll see so much about who you are and who your partner is in that silence, because the fanfare is gone. There are no fireworks that are distractions, because
Right.
that's what they wind up being.
Right.
But it's in that silent intimacy where I can really see who you are, you can see who I am, and you can have a understanding of the relationship, how true your relationship is. I think what a lot of us struggle with is that we really don't want to find out who we're really in relationship with.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
and and that's where, oh, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored. Maybe you're not bored. Maybe the true you is there, and there is no true connection. There is
All
no
right.
true intimacy.
Wow.
There is no
Right.
Wow.
strong
Right.
foundation. So
Right.
you use the word
Mhm.
bored to
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 deflect.
try to
Wow.
express
Yeah.
something that's
Right.
really,
Really calm. Yeah.
there's a deeper issue here, a
Right.
whole lot deeper. And,
Right.
Mm.
and I think you said it best, Precious, where we're jumping into relationships with sex first,
Yeah.
Right.
right off the
It's a
rip.
break.
And,
Right.
I ain't saying that wrong with it and all, but it doesn't give you a solid foundation to grow
Yeah.
from, because you might mess around and roll up on something that's real good, and you like, I'm just gonna stay.
Yeah.
I don't really like them or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's
This is
real
good
good,
though. Yeah.
and we gonna work this out.
Yeah.
That's what's
But that's
up.
Yeah.
not that's not gonna be enough forever. It's not.
Yeah. But
That's
you
so
know what? You know
good.
what I learned, P. Coffee.
Yes, sir.
I've learned something when some people. I think boredom creeps in when people at some level they don't feel like you appreciate them at some level. But on the other side of it is when people are, if you get to know what a person likes to do, like every one of us has something that we do when we go home. Let's just say if we live alone, or if you go home ahead of your person,
Mm.
there is a consistent habit or hobby that we do every day. Like someone may say, "Oh, I had a long day. I just want to go home, get in my jacuzzi, and read my book." Or somebody else may say, "I'm going to knit." Somebody may do some paint. Whatever it is that you do, I think you have to learn to meet your person there. When you can kind of meet your person at their base level hobby, connect there, and then people are be more prone to not necessarily pressure you about being bored because they're feeling like, wait a minute, this person is appreciating me. You're appreciating me at the smallest level of what I love to do. So
Mm.
now, baby, that was really sweet that you did that. So you really sat here and read with me. That was really cool. So what do you want to do this weekend? Now it's not really that stress and pressure of I need you to take me out of the country. It's just let's just do something for us and enjoy the time because they already feel appreciated and that lack isn't there. I think when we have that lack of appreciation, then we're looking to change that, and something needs to happen to substitute it. And another part of this is another truth I thought about when I heard Victoria talking earlier. I've learned that some people don't like their own company.
Right.
They don't like being
Right.
around them. So
Right.
they pressure you to
Right.
do something all the time. Like every time we spend time together doesn't have to be out in the street. I mean, we
Right.
can have a dinner at home. We can do something. We can go and walk in the back, whatever. But it seems like when people have to always be going and going and going, you have to ask them, do you like you? I mean, do you like yourself? I'm just trying to be next to you. You must do you not like yourself? Because it's like you, at every chance, you're trying to avoid, deflect, and run from you. So we have to kind of understand who we are dealing with. Like I think AD said, understand the personalities that you have. Get to know the person and say, look, are we really compatible? Forget about how good the sex is, how cute you are, what kind of job you have. Are we compatible? Because with the sex and all those things subside, we have to relate some kind of way. So I think
Dr. Love, let me pull the microphone out here. Did you just say, and I quote, that you're trying to run from you? Is that what you
yeah,
just said?
we run from us. We are so spaced out in our minds, and people instead of getting drunk, they try to medicate themselves through activity to distract from their real issues. And they want to be all over the place and dressing up and doing all these things to kind of mask the issues. And so as a result, that's the worst position to be in with someone like that, where if you're the total opposite and they're dumping it on you, it's a miserable existence. Because you as a man or a woman, everybody wants to please their person. So now you're like, well, you okay, baby? So now here they are dragging you into dysfunction. You just trying to make them happy. You ain't trying to change the world and create a miracle, but that's what happens. So, you got to know who you with and talk to them and figure out, look, I don't think we have a good match. I like you. Like AD said, the sex was amazing, but that's not going to sustain a relationship. This is be honest. Yeah. That's just, yeah.
So, Mr. Dixon, since you left on such a high note on this
Oh,
evening, we got people asking for your Cash App so they can send offerings in.
Amen. Shabbat. Hey.
Can you go ahead and steer the train into the station, Mr. Dixon? And it's already about 9:15.
Okay.
We've been over a few minutes. We had some technical issues, but can you go ahead and steer us?
All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start with my man here on. What's your name again? With the hat on. Jason. Yeah, we're gonna start with Jason. But what we're gonna do is pretty much at this point, I want everybody to kind of send the people out with what you think would really be good to combat boredom in your marriage or relationship. We'll start with you, Jason.
Wow. Okay, to combat boredom, I would say what we've said all night. The best thing to do would be to communicate and know who you're dealing with. You can't communicate what hasn't been said, or reciprocate. I'll say it like that. You can't reciprocate what hasn't been said. I can't give you something I don't know. I can't expect you to give me something I haven't said I needed. So ultimately, if you're not doing that, that's the only way to combat boredom, in my mind.
Good stuff. So, Neil.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm not going to repeat what Jason said. I totally agree with it. But I think another thing that you can do, you said earlier about appreciation. And I think what goes hand in hand with being able to appreciate your partner is to be able to understand your partner, right? So understand, number one, that life happens. So when we're talking about boredom, we don't just mean like the fact that life happens, because life is going to happen to everybody, And so understand that. Be able to have a capacity to understand that life happens, and so you don't just leave because life happens. So when we talk about boredom, it's more of a long-term thing than that. Understand, AD was talking about comfortable silences, so that if I really love you and I know you, I shouldn't always have to be on, so to speak. I should be able to understand that this is the time that we are just going to be in this moment and appreciate the silence that we have created, and then just understand who we are, so that if a truth is revealed, right, that you still have that friendship that can hold you down. So to me, those are things that you can do, is be able to understand your full relationship.
Good stuff.
That's good.
Victoria?
Well, I think that you should know your partner well enough to be able to read between the lines. We've talked about communication, but there are sometimes some things are going to be missed in communication. But I think that if you've taken the time to learn your partner from the beginning and be able to read between the lines sometimes of what's not being said. The other thing I think is listening. We're talking about communication, but listen to what's being said, and then be able to discern again what's not being said. So again, reading between the lines, be creative, be spur of the moment, be spontaneous. Don't always put the weight on them, but sometimes you take on the responsibility as well.
Nice. AD.
I think I think if you not trying to use the same words over and over again, but I think but I think if we give some tangible advice, brothers, sisters, find that one thing that you know your partner loves to do, what their
That's it.
thing is, and just surprise them with it
That's it.
out of the
Right.
blue.
That's it.
Like I know my girl, she loves to eat. So
Hmm.
if I were to pick up tomorrow and say, no, here's a dress, here's some shoes, and put a little note on the bed, put that on the bed, say, put this on, and we ride out to the beaches or a couple of cities over, and do a food tour. Do
Right.
lunch
Right.
here, do dinner
Right.
there, do
Right.
appetizers and desserts over there.
Right.
She loves
That's
it.
good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah.
So find that thing that your mate is, what your mate loves, what your partner loves, and give it to them. If
Right.
you do that, it shows that you're listening to them. It shows
Right.
as action. That's another
Right.
thing, because women are big on action. So
Right.
instead of
Absolutely.
talking about it, you're being about it. So you
Right.
go out, you do the thing, and it shows that you're listening to them. It shows that you appreciate them. It shows that you love them, that you pay attention.
Mm.
Those small little sacrifices. It doesn't have to be anything big, but something that
Yeah.
is genuine, spontaneous, and is just for them. Do that, and I don't think y'all will be bored for a little while. You
Good
might get a
stuff.
few
You'll
bored
be all right.
glances.
You'll get all right. Yeah.
That's good
That's good
stuff.
stuff,
I
man.
like
Tea
it.
coffee. You go, then I'll go after you.
Well, Dr. Dixon, this has been an incredible show this evening. I'm so glad, like Tanil said earlier, I'm so glad Victoria was able to join us to bring some balance to the building, because I thought we was gonna get swallowed whole by the men's
That's it.
ministry on
We was gonna
tonight.
shock y'all. We was gonna shock y'all
I was like,
tonight.
we need
Yes,
Victoria. Then I was going back in the inbox. I was like, please, the code is get on. Don't leave us alone. We can't do it.
Yeah, we're gonna leave you out there.
But no, very seriously, you guys have given some great nuggets. I'm just gonna glean from you guys at this particular point and just say, just to piggyback off a little bit what AD said, just in simplicity. Giving your person what they want can mean intangible as well. It may not be something that is tangible that they desire and need from you. It could be just you could just be that person that your person feels valued with the words that are spoken from your mouth. It could be just that power in itself that keeps your person engaged and keeps them away from being bored, because every person has something, like Victoria said earlier, about that language that speaks volumes to them. Their language could be something very, very intangible that only you have the power to give to them. And that can really meet their need and that expectation for them.
Good stuff. So I think, I'm glad Victoria joined us. I'll tell you
Absolutely.
why.
I'm so excited.
It's
Thank you,
it's
Mr.
every
Dixon.
now and then somebody says something that just strikes something thought of memory. I'll be like, oh wait a minute, I've heard that before. But anyway, So here's the thing. Victoria brought up a point earlier when she was talking about. Well, Neil said the same thing when you guys were talking about having the different careers, and how if the person is necessarily not as in tune with what you're doing, it can sometimes be a problem if someone else in that same field is doting or saying, that was great work you did, Victoria. That's great. And now you're like, you think I did a great job? The husband ain't saying nothing at home, but he is. Here's the thing. This is why I am a strong believer. I heard you guys say earlier about opposites attract. I think opposites complicate. This is my thought. I think people should really, really look for people with as close as much commonality as possible. Like, if you look, somebody that, if you're a screenwriter, find somebody that work on the set, screen something too, or somewhere up in those things. Because here's the thing: if we're realistic, at our age, most of us, if we 40 anything, people are walking into the place of being we are creatures of habit. And the thought of someone is really going to change and learn a new hobby, your career, and learn all these things is going to be thin. So the more closer you get to meeting someone that's really walks in the lane of what you desire, what you like, whether it be religion, whether it be, you guys are travelers, oh, I like to step dance, whatever it is that you do, there should be something together that you guys really shine together doing. Because the more distant you are in your daily things and your work and your talents, there's always going to be other people in those genres that's going to pull on you. And so the fire comes when you have something where you can say, babe, this is our thing. We love it together and we're going to grow from here. So I think people, when you're looking for somebody, try to find people that are really closely matched. Maybe they're not going to be your ideal match, but at least close in the field of what you like in your and things you want to do when your outlets, off of work time, even your turn ups. I talked about that before. People have these turn ups things that they do that maybe they may do after maybe a person had a certain drink or whatever, and they got these turn ups. The opposite end, and you call them a square. But guess what? You shouldn't be with them. If you that extreme turn up, find another extreme turn up person, because now you're gonna have a problem. So my thing is, we have to be realistic and just say, look, I like this person, they're cool, but we're probably not the best match. Look for the people that match as well with you. And the boredom issue, I'm not saying it won't be there at times, but it's more easier to alleviate the problem when you have close match needs and desires. That's all. Yeah.
All right, you guys can send all your offerings to what's the password again?
Yes.
You guys, this has been an incredible dialogue. We could really keep going with this because it was very fluid. The conversation was very, very fluid. I literally just got 2 show ideas off of listening to you guys chat tonight.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, that's it.
Kudos to you guys for inspiring the brainchild over here with my notepad and my
right.
I truly, truly appreciate you guys so much. If you guys can just give us a very quick, maybe 30-second commercial on the way out so people can know who you are and how they can connect so they can keep connected with you guys. I know that Jason does music in the area where he is. Jason, if you can give a 30-second clip on that. I know Victoria does etiquette. AD is all over the universe doing something, talking to people, just talking to folks. And Lady Jackson, I think you were doing something along the lines of the writing and literary field. If you guys can give a real 30-second clip, and we're going to go ahead and shut down from there. Jason, go ahead, tell us 30 seconds what you're doing.
I'm doing a few things. Yes, I am a bass player out in the Seattle region, but I'm also a preacher.
I was trying.
I do numerous things. So you can reach me on Facebook, Jason Williams. I believe it's everything. My IG, my Twitter. I'm not even really on Twitter, but all of it is all just Jason Williams. Period.
Okay, awesome. Right. Lady Victoria, talk to us. Tell us what you do. 30 seconds.
Okay, Victoria DeBose. I am a certified etiquette consultant and trainer. I refer to myself as an etiquette educator because I like to give people the information if they don't know about etiquette. Oftentimes say that etiquette is a way of life. You can reach me on my Facebook fan page under the same name, Victoria School of Etiquette, and also on Instagram, Lady VL. But if you just look up Victoria School of Etiquette, you'll find it.
Gotcha.
Awesome. AD, 30 seconds.
I'm a success coach. This is what I do. Talking, empowering people where they are. There's no cookie cutter approach to changing people's situation or reinventing themselves. But that's what I do. I help people to find themselves, to reinvent themselves, to create the best them that they could possibly experience. That's what I do. How you connect with me? My website is adrobertsnow.com. I'm on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and it's AD Roberts. That's it.
All right, we'll check you out.
Awesome. Well, I think Lady Jackson got kicked off accidentally on the conversation. She got kicked off, but she is an author and she does help people who are in the market for writing. So she's a literary person. You guys can reach her right here on the Book of Faces as well, aka Facebook. So we're going to go ahead and get on out of here for tonight. You can find myself and Mr. Dixon right here. We are the Great Communicators. Mr. Dixon is on Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, and you guys can catch us back here next Tuesday night, same bad time, same bad channel for another episode of The Hot Seat. Until then, miracles and blessings. You guys have a fantastic evening, and thank you again for your time. We salute you, and we'll see you guys in the future.
Good night.
Thank you.
Right.
Good night,
Thanks,
all.
guys.
Good night, everybody.